Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Barry and this is Centralise. So I've been tagged by Yve Spiders Smells, and this is for Ghosts of Perfume Past. Now, there's 9 questions, and each of these questions brought up a problem each time I looked at these questions. Before I give them a go anyway. So the first question was, what was your first perfume? Now, I would say my first perfume would have been from a company called Avon, and it was something that my mum bought me. Now, I've looked for it on Fragrantica, can't find it. I've looked elsewhere for it, I can't find it. And it was like a sporty version. It was like in an orange bottle, but you're talking late 70s, early 80s, very early 80s. But I can't find it, but it was an Avon Sport. So the second question, what was representative of your teens? So there was a few really. I mean, the very first one that I got was Yardley Gold. Now this has been reformulated, it's even in a new bottle. And this was, Yardley's an old English company, and I'll put a picture of the old bottle up, but I used to love it, and it's got such an old smell to it. It's beautiful, I really enjoy it. And even now, like when I put it on, I mean, I use it as a splash, when it's a splash anyway, but I use it after I've shaved, and it's beautiful. But other ones that I used to wear in my teens, I was like looking back, and I mean, Fahrenheit, I mean, this was late teens. I think this was released in 88, so this was like the last couple of years of my teens. One of the earlier ones, I think the first designer that I got was Obsession by Calvin Klein. But I used to use, what do they call them? The aftershave balm, because it was a lot more gentle on yourself, and there was no like sprayers in the bottles back then, well, originally, and it wasn't until later on that the sprayers come out and you got the eau de toilettes, but normally it was just the splashes and the balms, and the balms were much easier on your skin. It was like a creamy version, which I much preferred. Also, looking back to that time, you'd got the likes of Aramis floating around. I didn't have a bottle, but it was something that I used to smell on everybody, and I used to love the smell, and it's only recently that I've bought a bottle. You'd also got Kouros. Now Kouros also pops up in another one of the questions, but I'll bring that up in a bit. But that was another banging scent back in the day. What else did I wear? Cool Water. That was another one that I wore in my teens, but another one again, late teens. But I'd say the one that I probably wore the most in my teens was probably Yardley Gold, because I think it was 83, I think that was released, so that was at the beginning of my teens. So I wore that more than any of the others. But then the next question was, what representative of your 20s? Now, obviously the fragrances that came out in the latest parts of the 80s went into my 20s. So once again, you've got Fahrenheit, Cool Water, but then introduced and come along was the likes of Dupe, which was different to anything else out there at the time, and another one that used to get the aftershave balm for, and this was sweet and completely new. Nobody used to wear anything like this back in the day, and you used to go into the nightclubs and everybody was smelling of this. That and Lamal. What else did I wear in my 20s? Well, the 20s for me, that was Calvin Klein came onto its own. When I was in my teens, I got Obsession, but then in the 20s I went on to Eternity, which was massive for me. Another one that I got the aftershave balm for. Escape was another one for the 20s. used to love that. And as you can tell, I've gone back and I've purchased a lot of these again since, because they're so nostalgic and bring back a lot of really good memories. And then the other one I was wearing in my 20s was Dolce & Gabbana Pour Homme, and this is one of the old bottles. I think this is the Italian version, I believe, but I'm not massive on old versions and stuff. So I think the one that's probably represents my 20s more than anything, I think it's probably a fight between Fahrenheit and Dupe. Those are the two that I wore more than anything. So next question was, what from my teens did I dislike? Now, back in my teen times, you used to smell this everywhere, Kouros, and I wasn't the biggest fan. I never got a bottle, wasn't the biggest fan, and I didn't like it. But now I've matured a bit, well, a lot. Kouros, I had to go and get it, and it brings back memories of just being in places, even though I wasn't wearing it. It brings back memories of being in certain places because you used to smell it everywhere. The next question was, what was representative of your 20s that you disliked? Well, I can't really say there's anything that pops into mind from when I was in my 20s that I disliked. There was nothing which I used to smell on someone and think, oh God, I wouldn't wear that. But back then, you used to have 3-4 fragrances tops, and you used to rotate. Anybody that had more than that, they was considered a bit of a, I don't know how to put it, not to be normal. So the next question is, what from your past do you still wear? Well, as you can see from all those, I still wear a lot of the things from the past. I really do. The next question was, what from the past would you not wear now? And once again, I think this is another one of those where there's nothing I wouldn't wear. There's a couple of things recently which I've tried which have tested the boundaries a bit more, some of the oud fragrances, but going back from when I was in my teens and in my 20s, there's nothing that I wouldn't wear now. There really isn't anything that I wouldn't try and give it a go. So question 8 was, what from the past do you wish you could wear that is now discontinued? I don't think it's so much, for me, stuff that's discontinued. I think it's the reformulations which winds me up a bit more. Now I can understand why they're reformulating things. You've got all the issues with certain ingredients being banned, and obviously then you've also got companies which are taking advantage and trying to use cheaper products. But I think if anything, I'd like an old bottle of Fahrenheit from 1988, or an old bottle of La Mal, the original, where you get the really good projection. Saying that, I mean, Fahrenheit's still really good compared to a lot that you get now, but things like La Mal, they really have, they're not half as good as what they was. And then the last question was, what is a good memory associated from your past? And I think I've mentioned this in a few before, and I think it has to be diesel Fuel for Life. Now, I was married 12 years ago in June, and this is what I wore on the wedding day. So this brings back really good memories. And I also wore this on my first date with my wife, so that answers that question. So that's it from me. Thanks a lot, Yve, for tagging me in on that. I really appreciate that. Anybody that hasn't checked Yve's channel out, you need to go and do so. And I think I'll tag 4 people. So I've listed 4 people down. So the first one I want to tag is James over at the Fragrant Jock. He's renamed his channel. It used to be called James Grant. He's named it the Fragrant Jock. He's tagged me in a video before, but I don't think I've tagged him in anything. But I did include him in one of the up and coming and new YouTubers videos a while back. So I'd like to see if you could do that, James, because I know you're of a similar age to me, so I'd like to see what sort of things rocked your boat back then. The second person I want to tag is Frances from Happiness Sparkles. She's a wonderful woman. I've only recently got to know her. She's really enthusiastic. I really enjoy watching her videos, and I'd love to see some of the things from her past. The next one is Making Sense. I don't think I've tagged you before, mate, so I'd love to see your journey and if you could answer those 9 questions. And then the last one is Matt from Questioning Sense. Matt I've been watching for a while now. He's a UK reviewer and he's real good. I think the Scent Geeks mentioned him the other day as well, that basically it's like sitting down with your mate when he's talking to you. He's so good, and he looks at some wonderful fragrances, so I'd like to see his ghosts from Perfume past. Well, that's it from me. I hope you enjoyed that subject. I thought it was something a bit different and I quite enjoyed it. So leave your comments below what you thought of it. What are your perfumes from the past? And don't forget to give me a like and subscribe if you could. And I'll speak to you all soon. Stay fragrant, not vagrant.